Hello and welcome back to another Vlogmas video. A few weeks ago, I put up this poll asking you which winter treat makeup inspired look you wanted to see, and Sugar Cookie Glam won. So that is what I'm doing today. I'm really excited to get this like pink kind of cookie frosted look. These are some of my inspo photos for today's look, and I'm really excited to show you how I'm going to achieve this. I already did my skincare prep, and if you can't tell, I'm looking a little oilier than usual. And if you're anything like me where you have dry skin, I implore you to try this tip. I have dry skin, but I love a matte or a powdered look. I just think something like elevated, elegant about it, and I'm not always in the mood for a dewy makeup look. I have dry skin, but I love matte makeup, so this is how I get it to work. Recently, I've been trying this tip where you add a few drops of a neutral face oil, so you can use jojoba oil. Today I'm using the Good Molecules Dry Skin Bok Chool oil. I let it sit in for a little bit, and then I'm going to go in with a matte foundation, and it's going to like make your skin oily. If you think about it, matte makeup is built for people who have oily skin. So we're kind of tricking the makeup here, and let me tell you, the results are flawless. The foundation I'm using today is the Maybelline Fitme Matte Foundation, and I really love this foundation because it can be sheer and buildable. I found that I just would have like this dry flakiness in certain areas, and it never looked great. After trying this trick, I just find that it looks so good throughout the day. As you can see, my skin looks flawless. I feel like it gives it a little bit more of this blurred finish. To help keep this look really soft looking, I'm not going to use any concealer. I'm thinking maybe just a little bit on the eyelids. No, I said I'm not going to. I'm not going to be using any. So next we can move on to the cheeks, but before I do that, I'm going to put a little bit of lip balm to prepare for the matte lip at the end. For blush, I'm using the Huda Beauty Blush Filter in Cotton Candy. I feel like this is the perfect like muted pink that I've been looking for. Dusty rose with a little bit more pink in there. I was finding my Rare Beauty one was just too cool toned pink, and I think I'm cool toned or like a fair olive. I'm going to go for a more lifted placement. Kind of wrapping it up into my temple. And I love the formula of this. It has a nice sheen but no glitter in sight. It is so pretty. And I just love how easily these ones blend out. I mean, usually I take my foundation brush to blur in the edges, but this, it looks so good. For highlight, I want to play around with this ethereal, meeting, whimsical worlds of this sugar cookie look. Thank you so much for Focallure for sponsoring this segment of the video. They sent me this Star Crash highlighter in the light pink shade, and I absolutely adore the uses I've had with this. I really like this sleek packaging, but you also get a ton of product in here. And I think this color is so beautiful because you get this mix of pink, blue, white, and gold micro glitters. They're not chunky or texture enhancing. I do really wish that this was like a true mirror on this side, but I usually have a mirror on hand anyway. So for highlight, I'm just going to be taking a little bit on my finger. See just how like shimmery and glossy it looks. It is so beautiful. Look at our matte skin is setting in. It looks so good, and this look is all coming together. So because I have that high placement of the blush, I'm going to be doing the same thing with the highlighter. And it is a powder, but look how glossy that looks. And layering it over that pink blush really brings out the pink and gold. But when I do on my eyelids, I've noticed the white and blue come out too. Bring you in closer for the eyes, and today's going to be really simple with how this looks. The highlighter is going to do all of the heavy lifting, and we're just going to kind of create this nice frosting look for the eyes. Starting with my Natasha Denona Mini Zendo palette. And the shade I'm using is Bear, which is this light pink. And I'm just taking a fluffy brush, and I'm going to put that all over the lid. I love how easy that was. That was just one swipe of it. I forgot to grab my concealer, but I'm just going to add a little bit of foundation in this area just to really brighten up the eyes. It's just a little bit of excess that's been sitting on my hand, so it has kind of set a little bit, which I can use to my advantage. And it doesn't do much, but it just kind of gets rid of this darkness right here. Next, I just want to deepen the outer corner just a little bit. I wanted this to be more of a glam look, but then I was finding that trying to make it smoky really got rid of the bright pinks that I wanted. So I was finding that you have to go pretty minimal with this, but it ends up still looking somewhat glam in the end. For the next, I'm taking my Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette, and I'm going to the shade Mesh, which is kind of like this light taupe shade. I'm actually using the same brush, but I'm just going to dust it off a little bit, and then just kind of like plant it into this area. I want more of a rounded look. And then I'm just going to lightly drape it over, only a couple times, so I'm not really moving all that pigment. To add a little bit more depth without being overbearing, I'm just going to line my outer lashes with Silhouette, which is this really rich, deep brown. But I'm going to kind of use it as an eyeshadow today. And I'm not winging it out or anything, I'm just following the natural shape of my eye. And the goal of this is just to make your lashes look a little thicker there, and again, just deepening up and adding some depth. And I really just love the illusion that this creates. I'm not a big fan of like heavy mascaras, and there are days where I do a full glam with no mascara. So I really like this little trick, and then just curling my lashes. And then I'm doing the same trick with the shade Stone, but on my lower lashes, so still kind of adding some depth in there, but not as dark as the brown we used. And this one again is more of like a grayish, just a cooler tone of Mesh, slightly deeper though. And I feel like this just adds a little bit more, making the look more cohesive. I find that a lot of like glam eye looks, if you don't add shadow to the bottom, really looks out of place to me, and that's just how I've preferred to start doing my looks. But even if you go a little bit lighter, it still does the job. Or add this highlighter on the eyes, I'm using my NYX glitter glue, and that's just going to help keep it in place because there are those really fine micro glitters. I wasn't finding like horrible fallout with that product, but if you go outside, maybe it's raining or snowing near you, and a lot of that does add a little bit just kind of falling through. If you can't tell by the glitter placement, I'm focusing this highlighter on the front or inner corners of my eyes, and then I will just kind of diffuse it out. I mean, just look how beautiful that is. It's so smooth. I really like to just pack this in. And then diffuse it out so we get a little bit of sparkle. So I'll do my brows and lashes off camera, and I'll be right back to finish this look. As always, I used my Kosas, completely stumbled on the name, but as always, I use the Kosas Air Brow, and the shade I have is medium brown. I like that it helps give like a nice fluffy look to the brows. And then for mascara, I just use my Caliray Come Hell or High Water. I'm not a big fan of this mascara. It's supposed to be like a volumizing tubing mascara, but I use it more as a lengthening tubing mascara. It comes off like a dream, but my lashes never stay up with this one. So I really like how this has come out so far, but the cherry on the top I think is going to be the lips, of just focusing on this soft pink look. Before I do that, I do think I want to powder just a little bit in this area, just to really give it that glam look that I'm going for. Today I'm using the Hourglass setting powder in their translucent shade. Lastly, for the lips, again, I want to focus on these light pinks, and I think that a matte lip product is really going to go with that frosting. When I think of sugar cookie frosting, it usually is just like that very smooth, whipped, kind of matte look. And sometimes you'll put sprinkles on top. So that's what I was thinking for the highlighter, but it's very, very minimal. For the lips, first I'm going in with the NYX lip pencil in the shade Nude Pink. Few things to note. One, I am leaving that chapstick on. It's really going to help create a nice base, a nice hydrated base for the matte lip products. And then I also think this is just a like perfect My Lips But Better shade, at least for me, and I have been really loving this one. And then I'm just slightly blurring it out into my lips. Then I'm using this Fwee pudding pot in the shade Like. This is the matte formula, and it is such a pretty pink. And then I have this little applicator. It is kind of like squishy but dense, and this just helps to pick up the product. I find it a little difficult to get it in there with my nails, so this comes in handy. If you want to make the lips look just a little bit sharper, you can go back in with your lip liner. So here is my take on a sugar cookie glam makeup look. I definitely toned down the blush, or I feel like the light is just not giving it justice. Let me change the lights and see if the colors pop a little bit more. I really feel like the natural light makes these pinks pop, especially the eyes. I really like that highlighter because it has like that glossy, almost glossy finish with just those different shimmers or glitters in there. It really just makes it look ethereal, glossy, and just really, really flattering. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in tomorrow's Vlogmas video. Bye!